Hey, what's up? Welcome to the space room. I'm getting a rare opportunity to make a video, and so I have to take it while I can. I may not get very many opportunities to make videos in the space room, which is where I wish I could be all the time, and I hope that light is doing me justice and not making this video worse. So I'll just kind of sit in such a way that it's not directly shining on my face, maybe have it kind of shining away from me. So, what I want to talk about in this video is how I want to title it I Don't Want Their Germs. And I know I'm redundant, I know I talk about the same thing all the time, but I just want to talk about how I have no interest in dating or it's ridiculous. It's like I hate the way so many men assume that all women, all single women, just wanted to hook up and that we are actively seeking them out to the extent that they would like to have a girlfriend. I think it's ridiculous to assume that, women would actually choose to have a boyfriend, or a husband or a man in their lives if they could somehow have all the things that a man could provide in another way. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and I think the unfortunate lack of boy dolls that I'm always talking and lamenting about in these videos is a direct, you know, it's a physical manifestation of that which is hard to express. It's very difficult. You know, it's like it's very sad because, even if boys are not actively seeking out dolls to play with, and even if people don't want to buy dolls for their sons, there should be, I've always thought that there should be more boy dolls that are requested by girls. You know what I'm saying? Girls, you would think that they would look upon all their female dolls that they probably got without ever asking for them in the first place, like me. That's just what people give girls for some reason. Um, and you would think, that they would look upon all their female dolls and say, you know what? We need a boy. I need to have a boy version of these girls. But the unfortunate truth is that, except for me, little girls actually don't like boys at the age when it's still socially acceptable to play dolls. They really, realistically, they just don't like boys. And it's sad, but I think that if more women would admit the truth to themselves, that if they were not brainwashed into being scared at night that somebody's going to attack them because there's no man in the house, or they need some man to do X, Y, or Z around the house. In my case, those few needs are being met by my father. When the truth of the matter is that, marrying a man, not only does it put your body at risk of pregnancy and all that, well, guess what? There is a good chance that you will not have a man well into your old age. Like, I think, well, for sure, my maternal grandfather died before I ever existed. And I only knew my paternal grandmother's second husband, who was not genetically related to my dad. He was a stepdad. So I never actually met either of my grandfathers in my lifetime. So, in their lifetime. So, the reality is this dying alone crap, for any woman with two brain cells. I mean, we kind of realize that could happen anyway. You know what I'm saying? There's no guarantee that because you marry a man, you're going to have someone when you're old anyway. He could die, he could leave you. And, worse yet, I mean, you could die in pregnancy or something. So, anyway, this idea that women are and should be actively seeking men to the extent that they would like to have a girlfriend it's just ridiculous. It's something that, that there's this one guy I'm thinking about that's just lamenting about how you don't see young people anymore at all these parks and, all these social gatherings because of the pandemic. Well, you know what? I was secretly glad, as I've stated before, about the COVID thing, because I could almost rewrite, that song, I was country when country wasn't cool. Well, I could almost, if I could change the lyrics, I could say I was COVID when COVID wasn't cool, meaning I was already taking a lot of the precautions, that people, it's almost like everybody, stupidly enough, everybody just suddenly realized that respiratory illnesses were caused by freaking viruses because of the pandemic. And suddenly, they started doing the things that they really should have been doing all along. I mean, why would you ever get in somebody's face or share drinks with someone? Or, you know what I'm saying? Respiratory viruses are nothing new. Respiratory viruses have been around, well, probably since the beginning of time, since there were humans to catch them. And so, this idea that you ever should have been, doing anything but social distancing. Now, of course, the mask thing wasn't something I was doing, and you know what I'm saying. But the idea that anyone ever should have been sharing drinks and kissing and, getting in other people's personal space was stupid to begin with. And I was already taking those precautions even before, the whole coronavirus thing. That's why it really didn't change or affect the number of respiratory viruses that I inevitably caught. It's like I had the same average annual cold rate. It had been like, what, 14 months since my last cold when I got that one in December of 2019 before the pandemic. And guess what? I got COVID exactly 14 months after that. And then almost a year later, I got another respiratory virus. So I was still, having the same cold rate, so to speak, before, during, and after the pandemic. It didn't really affect me that much because I was already taking a lot of those precautions, and I never was at the stupid nightclubs and the bars and the whatever. I mean, I am completely unfamiliar with the things that guy was talking about, how, dating apps, this, bars, that. I never was in, large group activities. I mean, the last time I was heavily involved in a church, I want to say is what, 2013? Oh my gosh, is it like 11 years ago since I've really regularly attended church? Yeah, I mean, I don't even do that much. If I'm not even gonna go to church on Sunday, why would I do something, so disgusting as, try to casually hook up with men when I just have no interest in them whatsoever? You know what I'm saying? I think if it were more socially acceptable to admit that you don't really like men, I think more women would take that path. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's exactly what we're seeing, with all these girls, wanting to live as male or, identifying with the LGBTQ, and all that. I think, the number of men like that has always been pretty much the same. But the number of women has increased because secretly we never actually liked men to begin with. We were just told that we needed them, to have our own personal bodyguard and provider and this and that. And you know what I'm saying? But I think if the truth be known, if more women could meet those needs without a man, I think they actually would. And in my case, well, I'm hoping to just kind of have my dad meet a lot of those needs. And then when I'm with my mom, I just have to, be at the mercy of whatever she can provide. And then when both of them die, I'm kind of hoping I'll be too old for any man to really find me attractive. Obviously I can't have children anymore, but I'm just hoping that I won't have too much left that a man could probably want to exploit and take advantage of me. You know what I'm saying? I won't have that youth. I won't have, just won't have anything that makes a man want to knock me down, in various ways. So anyway, and so basically, I never was at the bars. I never was at the park on the weekend trying to meet guys. I never was, in group activities in college. I find it odd that, people just think college is synonymous with having gotten drunk to the point of vomiting a few times. Well, that just wasn't the case with me, you know? I mean, vomiting is not something I take lightly ever. And, I don't, yeah, I had every bit as much fear of the common cold as I ever did of COVID. It was just another cold to me. And so, yeah, I never was involved in the hookup culture. And so I don't have an issue with it. If phones have driven us further apart or made it more socially acceptable not to pursue the opposite sex, and not to, COVID made it more socially acceptable to be like me and not have friends and not hang out, then hey, I'm glad about that. At least there's that silver lining. And, one thing I want to end with is, I don't know if I've ever shown this, but I got this from Timu while I was at my mom's house last year. And it's a drawing tool, very useful, I find. And what it does is you can put your phone right there, and you project the image onto, it's like a partially reflective glass. And so you can see through it. You can see your hand drawing, but you can also see the image. And that's what I've always longed for, was a way to draw, wherein you don't have to waste a lot of paper by printing it out, but without actually, mentally trying to transpose it. But that's the best thing ever for drawing. So yeah, I'll go ahead and post this video.